Hello, and welcome to Eastern Roman history. It is a curious case for the Eastern Roman Empire during the 10th century AD that history should in fact repeat itself. In the beginning of the 10th century, the ruling family of the empire, the Macedonian dynasty, was destabilized when the emperor, Leo VI, an intelligent and successful monarch, died and left the throne in the hands of his ailing brother, and once he died 13 months later, his little boy Constantine VII. The Regency Council, set up to run the empire in his stead, was overthrown by a coup led by the admiral Romanus Lecapenus. Typically, usurpation in the Eastern Roman Empire was a case of kill or be killed, but Romanus I led the way for a new method of usurpation. Usurpation where the usurping upstart took his place as a senior emperor alongside the legitimate junior emperor. Much the same happened 40 years later. The Emperor Romanus II, the son of Constantine VII, died after a mortal illness. His wife and chief minister led a regency council to rule the empire for her two sons, Basil II and Constantine VIII. Within months, the regency council was overthrown by a coup led by the general Nikephoros Phokas, who was dubbed with the unique epithet the White Death of the Saracens. Like Romanus I, Nikephoros II, instead of doing away with the Macedonian boys, became the senior emperor and ruled alongside them. This video shall explore his short but eventful reign. If you enjoy this video, remember to like and subscribe to Eastern Roman History. My gratitude to my generous patrons on Patreon. And now let us continue. Nikephoros Phokas was the son, grandson, brother, and uncle of renowned military commanders of the Phokas family. He promised the Patriarch, Senate, and people of Constantinople that he would rule as a senior emperor on behalf of Emperors Basil II and Constantine VIII, but not found a dynasty of his own. To honour his father, Bardas Phokas the Elder was granted the title of Caesar, a title second in rank to the emperor. John Simiskes, the lieutenant and principal backer of Nikephoros Phokas, was promoted to Domestikos of the East. Leo Phokas was appointed financial logothete and bestowed the title of Kuropalates. Basil Lecapenus, the great-uncle of the emperors and another key supporter of Nikephoros II, became Parakoimomenos, Grand Chamberlain of the Palace. Nikephoros also invented a new title, Prodrus of the Senate, for him. Nikephoros himself was described by Leo the Deacon. His complexion tended to be swarthy rather than fair. His hair was thick and dark, beneath bushy eyebrows. His nose was neither narrow nor wide, ending in a slight hook. His beard was of moderate size, sprouting grey hairs on his cheeks. He was stooped in stature and sturdy, with extremely broad chest and shoulders, indeed, like the legendary Hercules in courage and strength. But almost as soon as he became emperor, there was a controversy, something that was a constant theme throughout his reign and legacy. When the emperor asked to marry the Empress Dowager Theophano on the 20th of September AD 963, he ran the risk of breaking canon law. Nikephoros II was a widower and had become a vegetarian as an act of piety to mourn the death of his son, whom had perished in a hunting accident some years before. The marriage of this widow and widower would only be allowed by the Patriarch Polyeuctus if they performed penance for 2 years. The Patriarch also denounced the marriage because Nikephoros II was the godfather of Basil II and Constantine VIII, which in the Orthodox Church was considered the same as a biological relationship, and therefore spiritually incestuous. A church committee formed to determine the validity of the marriage, and found in favour of the imperial couple. On the eastern frontier, the Hamdanids of Aleppo, the empire's main enemy at the time, having begun to recover from the stinging blow the emperor had dealt them back in AD 962, launched a raid against Melitene in September 963. In October, the Arabs of Tarsus pillaged their way to Iconium. The local strategos managed to catch them in an ambush, inflicting heavy casualties upon them. However, the resurgence of the Hamdanids in Tarsus were the aggressive acts of a paper tiger. Meanwhile, as Nikephoros II consolidated his position in Constantinople, the emperor prepared an expedition to aid a Christian revolt in Sicily. The Christian population on the island rebelled against their Fatimid overlords in the city of Rametta. In AD 963, the Fatimids besieged the city, which then called for aid from the Eastern Roman Empire. Nikephoros II used the occasion to break the tribute payments they previously paid to the Fatimids. He equipped a fleet and sent it under the command of a eunuch called Nikitas to relieve Rametta. They landed near Messina, and then the army under the command of Manuel, the nephew of Nikephoros II, led his forces to relieve the city. However, they were caught in an ambush and routed. Manuel himself was killed. The Romans fled back to their ships, but a Fatimid fleet arrived and sank the Roman navy, and Admiral Nikitas was captured. In May AD 965, Rametta fell to the Fatimids. Its population was led into slavery and replaced by Arab colonists. The expedition to Sicily was an unmitigated disaster for the Romans. It wasted a golden opportunity to restore the island to imperial control, and undoubtedly was responsible for part of the economy drive of Nikephoros II's reign, which was to pay for this lost expedition. In December 963, John Zimisces attacked Cilicia. He was victorious against the Tarsian army, totally annihilating the Saracen force. The slaughter was so great that the hill the battle was fought on was dubbed the Mountain of Blood. Zimisces besieged the city of Mopsuestia, but abandoned it due to an ongoing famine in the region, which left his army with limited food supplies. The Eastern Romans returned to friendly territory, burning the suburbs of Mopsuestia, Adana, and Tarsus as they left. In AD 964, an Aleppan army arrived too late to aid Tarsus and was disbanded due to poor food supplies. The Hamdanids negotiated with the Eastern Roman Empire, which effectively resulted in their withdrawal from Aleppo and ceased supporting the Emirate of Tarsus. With Aleppo neutralized, nothing could stop the Romans now. In AD 964, with stability restored in Constantinople, Nikephoros II resumed his campaigns against the Saracens. He was accompanied by the Empress Theophano and the two junior emperors. He began with punitive attacks against Cilicia, capturing Anazarbus and Adana, with some of his detachments raiding as far as Antioch. Nikephoros II's army withdrew to Caesarea at the end of the campaigning season. Cilicia had been laid waste and was now diplomatically isolated. Since Cilicia was on the brink of conquest, the emperor decided to deal with the last link in the chain, Cyprus. In AD 965, the Eastern Roman Imperial Navy, commanded by Nikitas Kalkoutzes, was sent to eject the Arabs from Cyprus. Cyprus had been a shared demilitarized zone between the Eastern Roman Empire and Arab world for centuries. Both empires shared the tax revenues, but neither power actually controlled the island. This condominion was ended after Kalkoutzes sank the Egyptian fleet defending it and brought the island fully under Roman control. Armenian colonists were then resettled there, and a new theme was created. With Cyprus fully back in Roman hands, Nikephoros II, Leo Phokas, and John Zimisces led the army from Caesarea into Cilicia. The governor of Tarsus and Mopsuestia offered to surrender, but the emperor refused. Leo Phokas led a detachment to conquer Tarsus, while Nikephoros and Zimisces besieged Mopsuestia. On the 13th of July 965, Mopsuestia fell to the Romans, and the population was largely put to the sword or dragged off into slavery. The emperor then joined his brother at Tarsus, which surrendered on the 16th of August. An Egyptian relief force sent by sea arrived too late and was chased off by the imperial navy. In the aftermath, the Muslims of Tarsus were given a choice: either convert to Christianity and stay, or leave under escort to Antioch. As this went on, Roman and Armenian citizens were resettled in the area, with small Armenian themes being established all over Cilicia. The imperial army then conquered Germaniacia. After 300 years, Cilicia was Roman territory once again. Upon their return to the capital, John Zimisces was dismissed from service, being placed under house arrest for conspiring against the emperor. Meanwhile, in Italy, the catapan of the themes of Longobardia and Calabria, Nikephoros Hexaconiates ordered the construction of ships for an expedition against the Sicilians. For whatever reason, the shipwright at Rossano rebelled, burned their vessels, and killed the local captain. This rebellion against the requisition of ships may have been a local response to the possibility of Arab reprisals so soon after the failure 2 years before. However, the insurrection dissipated thanks to the intervention of a local saint, Nilos, who placated the concerns of the rebels. Regardless, Hexaconiates took command of his thematic fleet and sailed to Reggio, where he engaged the Fatimid navy in battle. It was a disaster. The Arabs sank his fleet and forced him to retreat. There would be no further attacks against Sicily during Nikephoros II's reign. In October 965, Nikephoros II returned to Constantinople from his conquests, celebrating a triumph for his victories. The gilded gates of Tarsus and Mopsuestia were erected as victory monuments in Constantinople, and many of the battle standards from fallen battalions of Thamata were at last restored to their homeland. The victory over Tarsus was significant to both the government in Constantinople and also to Roman citizens themselves. To them it represented an end to the annual jihad, the yearly roll of the dice that perhaps they would be killed, carted off into slavery, or defiled by Saracen soldiers. In a church in Kavosin, in Cappadocia, there is a wall painting of Nikephoros II, Leo Phokas, Caesar Bardus Phokas, Empress Theophano, and John Zimisces. These were the faces of the men and women that had brought about a new Pax Romana. For the first time in centuries, Anatolia was safe. After the conquest of Cilicia, the emperor sent emissaries to the Syriac Patriarch of Antioch, John VII. The Syriac Patriarch is the head of the Miaphysite Christians of the East, who rejected the Council of Chalcedon in AD 451. Nikephoros II offered toleration to the Miaphysites if the Patriarch of Antioch relocated to Melitene. John VII agreed and moved to the theme of Melitene, with many Syriac Christians settling in the area. In AD 966, now that tensions had abated, Saif al-Dawla, the sword of the Hamdanids, conducted a prisoner exchange with the Eastern Roman Empire on the 23rd of June of that year. The Eastern Roman army had captured so many Arabian nobles, such as the warrior poet Abu Firas, in recent years, that Saif al-Dawla actually ran out of Christian prisoners to exchange. This forced him to pay money for the rest of the prisoners. He had to pawn his regal jewels and send his secretary as a hostage as collateral because he also ran out of money. The Hamdanids had been defeated in battle and now diplomatically humiliated.